в данном случае поступить? Вы
Давай я переведу
переводите,
профессору.
да?
Да.
Переводите, да? Или...
Ляль, ты переведешь или я переведу?
Фонда Филоса Ставридиса, да, директор, он же профессор Никосийского университета, он же художник, да, и он же руководитель наших программ, студенческих программ по обмену, которые мы уже там последние 6 лет, он помогает нам в организации всех вот студенческих практик здесь на Кипре, и с Московским университетом, и со всеми остальными университетами, и Белгородским, и Тамбовским. Вот, он с нами работает уже много лет. И что я хочу сказать, находимся мы как раз в фонде, у него в офисе. Но что хотел сказать, сегодня у нас выходной. Сегодня выходной, и первый день поста. На Кипре официальный государственный праздник, поэтому сегодня как бы улицы пусты, все сидят по домам, и очень даже как бы в тему нашей, да, разговор о семье. И Йосиф тоже был в семье, но мы его выдернули. На самом деле, когда мы 15 число назначили, у меня как-то, я и забыла. Да, вот сегодня уже, когда ехала, думаю, боже мой, пришлось человека выбрать. So I'm just talking about the 15th, the first day of fasting, we are, you know, is official holiday for Cyprus. The question for you, where you've been today, if you've been somewhere? You've been with the family?
Of course.
Вот к вопросу о семье, да, где киприот был в празднике?
Тогда с праздником я себе позволю только единственное сделать еще одну вещь, представить еще Амаль Султанну Утамиши, выпускника МГУ, антрополога, работающая на Кипре, и она сегодня в 2 лицах, как антрополог и как переводчик. И
помните Брамли Ивана Владимировича?
Да, ученица Юлиана Владимировича Брамлея, его дипломница, вот, и возглавляющая фонд
Гносис
да, Гносис на Кипре, ведущий обменом студентов между Россией и Кипром. Abbiamo il piacere di ospitarla come ospite del seminario e abbiamo il piacere di sentire in prima mano da un portatore nativo dell'informazione da Cipro.
Infatti la cosa particolare che mi sento veramente in una situazione strana è il fatto che non sono io che studio qualcosa e vi presento la cosa che studio, ma sono la cavia, sono quello che vi dà l'informazione e la dovete studiare voi.
Ага. Профессор сказал, что да, достаточно необычная ситуация. Он не исследует информацию, о которой он будет сегодня говорить, но он предоставляет нам информацию для того, чтобы ее изучали мы, оценивали мы и как-то вгоняли некие рамки и ниши. Марина Юрьевна, я думаю, слово...
Ну, я хотела только тоже поприветствовать Амали. Я о вас очень много слышала, и вот, наконец-то, я вас увидела. Очень приятно вас видеть.
И так что, Марина Юрьевна, давайте отмашку.
Ну, да,
мы все
ждем.
да?
Конечно.
Ну, тогда, да, so we will start.
No?
Yeah? We're ready.
We are always ready.
Мы больше никого не ждем, да?
Нет, ну, если кто-то присоединится.
Да, вклинится. So, from where we'll start? The Cyprus family. What is the first, when the people meet, you know, the Cypriots when they meet, what is the first question for them when what they want to know, the first?
Where are you from? The first question, do you hear me well? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Я спрашиваю, как бы, первый вопрос, который задают киприоты, когда они встречаются, вот незнакомые. Что для них первый вопрос? Всегда.
I will try to answer. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Russian, so I will try to answer as simple and clear I can in order to be understand from the participants. So, yes, the question was what you are asked as a first question when someone, a Cypriot, meets yes. Where are you from? From which place of Cyprus? And immediately, from which family is natural for us to identify a person, even a person you don't know, through his family and of course the place of birth. I think this is quite common in the Mediterranean area, but not only, quite common between especially societies that are not very big. In this case, we're talking about Cyprus, exactly like the other islands, big islands of the Mediterranean, they have this sense of insularity, which is a sort of isolation, a small communities, close societies, where the main nucleon of the society is, of course, the family.
When we say family, the small family for Cyprus, you know, and the big family, what is the family? How big is that? How you feel? What is a family for you?
Family, I will repeat that I feel strange because I push myself, I force myself not to think as an anthropologist, but to answer as Cypriot.
Yeah, it's better even. Это даже лучше.
So yes, family is something that has to do with blood, but not entirely. I mean, family is the group of people you feel like part of them. Could be close relatives and less close relatives, but with special links in a special net, familiar net. So yes, family is the group of people you feel you belong to.
Yeah. You compare your family with the basket, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means, is it support? Is it the obligatory? What is the family?
Family is a sort of pillars, small or big pillars, that holds up the society like this. And the relations are quite close. Can you see my hand? So the relations are close in order to have stability on what the society is. So if one member of the family falls down, the whole structure does not collapse. So more close are the relations, more sustainable is the whole. And we're talking about the social part of the family, okay? Which is different from other aspects. And we're talking about the social identity of the human, which is one of the identities of a being, of a man or a woman.
But from the other side, you know, you are physically very close. I mean, the family physically close. You know, you have... Я сравниваю иногда, как бы на Кипре вот нет института друзей, а есть институт семьи. То есть вот институт, так скажем, друзей, подруг полностью замещает семья. Поэтому я говорю, мы физически, они физически очень близки. Physically you are very close.
Physically you are very close.
Yes, you have, I mean, for you it's very common that, let's say, every Wednesday, every Sunday, you're with the family. Every, you know, whatever you celebrate, you're together.
Yes, all feasts, all celebrations are made with the family. And of course, with this kind of family, I expose at the beginning the group of people you feel you belong to. So yes, even the very simple daily stuff are sometimes based regularly in the structure of family. family. Myself, I'm invited every Thursday to my aunt's house. It's something we planned 6 years ago when we repeated. And to my mother's house Friday evening and most probably Sunday for lunch. It's something, are appointments. And I personally try to avoid other appointments in order to be there. Of course, it's not mandatory, they will not kill me if I will not go. But yes, it's important for them, but it's also important for me for a series of reasons.
And it's like by plan, you know, funeral, birthdays, you know, so the
Christmas,
yes,
New Year's Eve, Easter.
the whole year is planned, you know. I mean, besides that, you know, let's say during the week, not just because you have a child, but you have to be in your mom's house.
Yes.
You have
Yes,
to.
and if not, I will be called. Yes, of course, they call me, my parents, at least once a day. And if, I don't know, 4 or 5 days are passed without seeing each other, they will complain me and ask, why, what's up? Can we help in something? These, of course, all these things, are, as you can imagine, are both positive and sometimes are heavy to support. But also because I'm not a child. And this is not my story. This is the story of all people I know, and you know.
Yes.
Also. So yes, we have this feeling. I mean, if I tell you not to tell you the story of my life, but even my ex-wife, which is an ex-wife, is part of my family. I mean, part of my parents' family. She's there when the familial celebrations are. So yes, it's something beyond the normal father or mother son relation. It's something really present, both in the positive and in the less positive way.
What is the role of your mom? What is the mother in the family?
Right.
You say that I talk to my mom, I call to my mom. Is it the mom? Not, you don't say the parents. You say mom. Still the,
I think we all say mom.
this is something more important.
Yes, I believe this is a personal opinion. I believe that our society is more based on the female figure. I don't want to use the matriarchy because it has very narrow significance, maybe, or patriarchy. But yes, I think that the roles in the family, even the modern families, but also the families of the previous generations, were based on the female figure, at least for the important familiar stuff. Of course, there are some duties given to the man. I think to give him the illusion that he's guiding the ship, but actually is the female figure that counts. I mean, if the grandmother is there, the family is there. If the grandmother is not there for a reason, she died, or I don't know, the family is more or less passing to the next generation. So a united family, when the grandmother is there, there is the family of the kids and the kids of the kids. If the grandmother is not on the top of the pyramid, then we have smaller pyramids of the single families of her children. Okay. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear. And
it's clear.
And who will come in after when the grandma goes? Who becomes the most important in the family? The eldest
usually the oldest daughter. Usually.
k.i.n, daughter.
Yes, but this is common also.
For family,
this is common in Greece, in South France, in Italy, in Spain. I mean, the eldest among the children, especially if it's the daughter, took the responsibility of the unification, the unity of the family.
Can we say something, unique for Cyprus, just because it's the island? Do we have something which is only for Cyprus? Something, if we have something.
People usually want to have something unique and special. I don't think actually there are specific things that are present only in Cyprus. In different scale or in different expressions are the common elements of the societies, therefore the families, of what is the reality of the coasts and the islands of the Mediterranean. From what I know, from my experience as a person and as a researcher too. So yes, there are, even in the historic times, even when we study the behavior of people in ancient times through archaeology, etc., we can identify some particular expressions of being, but not unique, in a different scale or in different variations are present on the coast of Sardinia, for example, as we said before, or the Syro-Palestine coast, or the islands of Greece, or I don't know, Dalmatia, etc.
How do we, consider about these mixed marriages? How these Cypriots, do they accept the mixed marriages? And what is acceptable and is not acceptable at all?
If we're talking of today, I am pretty sure that...
Not today, but at least, when you've been young, let's say, 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
In general, what was the situation? What was...
Cyprus has been always a place where strangers were present. From this point of view, Cyprus is a place of, let's say, a cosmopolitan approach, especially towns, and especially the coastal towns, Larnaca, Limassol, Famagosta, etc. Strangers used to be here since ever. From the very beginning of the testimonies of being on this island. For instance, in this room where we are now, which is my office in the foundation, is full of pictures of, let's say, non-Cypriot origin Cypriots. Behind me, we have portraits of an Italian man that came in Cyprus and get married with a Latin woman of Italian origin. And all over the room, I have pictures of these kind of stories. So being a stranger, or for better saying, being a foreigner in Cyprus, especially, I repeat, in urban context, port town context, being a stranger is not something rare. Therefore, it's not difficult to be accepted as a mixed marriage with a foreigner.
We're talking about boy or girl?
We are talking about boy, and we can talk about girl. There are some concerns based on the period we're talking about. Once it was the religion.
Yeah,
So if it's Christian,
yes,
it's better. If it's not Christian, is less acceptable. If it's Muslim, it's quite worst.
Yeah.
But depends of the period. I repeat, depends of the period, because in some periods other were the important stuff. For example, the social rank.
Mm-hmm.
If it was of the same social strata, if we are talking of an extra urban place, it was important the place of origin. If it's from our village or the village of the others, maybe a foreigner will be more acceptable than a boy or a girl from the village next to us, because we have the rivalities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to define what stranger or foreigner could be in the idea of accept your child, boy or girl, to get married with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about the religion? Yes, and what about the, let's say if I'm a member of Akil party, does it mean something?
Yes, this is another sad story of the political parties. I don't know if it's because of the temperature, but in Cyprus, as in other places, in this altitude, history was in a sort of continuous movement, and not always peaceful. Therefore, after the atrocities of the relations between Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, I mean, at the beginning, Muslims and Christians of the island, but a bit before between Makarios's supporters and those that were against. We had lots of blood on the table between families and between society, between towns and societies, etc. So yes, some years ago, at least until some years ago, the political party for some families was important.
Yeah. So the family would never accept that, yeah?
Some families, not all families, but yes, some families, yes.
Mm-hmm. I know also a story here, but yeah.
We all know stories and are quite sad, but yes.
And what about the church, the Cyprus church?
The
What
Cyprus
are the
church.
families?
Cyprus church is a quite interesting story. There is plenty of bibliography on the story of the Church of Cyprus. To make a very long story short, the Church of Cyprus, since the Ottoman period, is not just the spiritual head of the island, but is the head, therefore the representative of the Christians of the island as a nation. So the Archbishop Makarios, I think, was the last to have the title of ethnos, so the chief of the ethnos of the nation.
Они что, без перевода, да?
Да, без перевода, да.
Да, очень обидно. Ну ладно. Ну пока.
So, to make it short,
church is in Cyprus, it has been something important, not only for the spiritual part, the religious part, but also the political part, because it was during the 300 years of the Ottoman Empire and during the domination of the British Empire, the representative of people. For some periods also the Turkish Cypriots, were the representatives of people. So there is a high consideration, used to be, until 20 years ago, a high consideration and a great importance on what a church was doing, the hierarchy was.
But the church means a lot. It was a funny story. Я просто такая бытовая зарисовка. I'll tell you first. In Pervolia, it was a lady, she split with her husband. She had 2 kids. So, and the family were, pushing her to go together, to live together, again, to meet, And the mom was talking to her, and the family was talking to her. You know what's happened then? They closed an appointment to the priest to talk to him.
Of course.
And he will. Я что хочу сказать? Я была в состоянии как бы развода, 2 детей маленьких, и я настаивала на том, чтобы она как-то разрешила этот конфликт с супругом. В общем, разрешал батюшка. Да, они договорились о встрече, они поехали в храм, и как бы решение было не за маму, не за папу, а именно за батюшкой. Это прям вот прошлым летом эта история, то есть это абсолютно такая вот рядовая зарисовочка.
Она типичная, эта ситуация?
Да, это типично, да, это типично, да.
Is a sort of now we're talking about extra urban societies, okay? The priest and the school professor, if was present, were the authorities of the village. I mean, if you want to ask someone to do something or a judgment for something, etc., the priest was the right person to ask. And his judgment was a law. We have to remember that for centuries, the ecclesiastic law was a law for people. The civil law was ecclesiastical. So this is quite important. And yes, I know lots of stories, but this is not the case to talk about stories of priests that were, and this is interesting because in this case, the political parties are in a lower level. Even in Pervolia, Amalia said before the story, is a place where the 98% are part of the Communist Party of Cyprus, members of the Communist Party of Cyprus, but the priest is there. The priest is a priest. And then are the political ideologies, but the priest used to be. Now it's not so. It's not so, but I hope, and not everywhere. She's laughing. She knows something I do not.
Ну, потому что для него это как бы он живет в этом, а я-то со стороны наблюдаю, поэтому, конечно, нет, это традиции, они здесь и есть, и это все очень так, как и было. Даже нечего говорить, 20 лет тому назад или сейчас. But that's the reality of today. Yeah, doesn't matter. It's in Nicosia or it's in Limassol. It depends. So we can say so. The kids, they're free, to decide. The kids, it doesn't mean that. Let's say if it's on the I would say is the
until social... 20 years ago, an official engagement with the presence of a priest was necessary. A before marriage, pre-marriage engagement, even in the church, was necessary for a couple that wanted to be together and live together.
То есть это помолвка, да? Это официальная помолвка. Они становятся парой.
Да.
20 years ago, until 20 years ago was necessary.
2000 год, понимаешь, священник был, да, и до сих пор так же, я хочу сказать.
It was a pre-wedding, and it was like a wedding. So with invitations and hundreds of participants, because in the weddings of Cyprus.
Yeah, tell me something. Let's say if the family, if it's different social classes people, and let's say if the boy is poor, does the family, you know, of the girl will accept him? Does it mean something if we see different social, different society, the people there?
These things are now quite are evolving.
Yeah.
Are evolving because the society evolves. So the importance once was, from this point of view, was the economic financial status. But now I think is more the job or the education and then the job, because can guarantee a sort of income. Once it was the land owning, which is not the same now. Yes, differences of social strata were, as everywhere, I think, one of the issues of.
What is better, to be a boy or a girl? To have a boy or a girl? Child.
Now is the same.
Now is the same.
Now is the same. Once it wasn't the same as everywhere. I mean, we all remember in the storybooks when we learn about the kings that were they were canceling the feasts of the newborn baby because it was a girl and not a boy. In Cyprus, there was the habit to give the dowry to the bride. So it was her father's duty to provide a house for the couple. And if a house wasn't possible to be provided, the couple used to stay at the bride's house, family house. So yes, the dowry, it was something important. So it wasn't easy to handle 2 or 3 daughters if your economic situation was not very healthy.
As you can,
перевода не будет, да?
as you can stay single, yeah?
So in some cases, I heard about stories that ladies
They
stay single because of this. But I don't believe that this was the only reason, because there were also men without asking.
Tell me, what is the traditions, for the wedding? Do we keep the tradition? I mean, how is the wedding now?
Talking about that, my grandfather in the 60s told to his 3 daughters that no dowry would be made because it was offensive for them.
Right.
So we're talking about 60s now. So my aunts used to look around knowing that there was no house behind, but what was important on the future wedding was their personality and not their money. And this was my grandfather. I mean, there were also these kind of stories.
But it's very rare, I think so.
It was it was in Larnaca, so in a town. He studied abroad. He used to work in the Kenya with the British.
Unique.
I mean, yes, but
it's very rare.
Was part of the reality.
Yeah.
As you all know, of course, trying to put down what are the characteristics of a society. We are always in the situation of putting everything under the same umbrella, which is, we all know, which is not correct. I mean, single cases are part of the reality, even if are not responding to the norms.
Tell me about the wedding ceremony. How traditional is that now, or is not anymore?
The religious part is traditional.
Okay, and?
The religious part is traditional, the rest is not anymore. When you
keep any symbols, you know, you do
there are some few elements, especially within the family. We're talking about the preparation of the wedding, okay? Some particular ceremonies, or for better saying, some rituals are still there. Pagan reminiscence rituals are still there on the preparation of the wedding. Some movements, some objects, some incense and candles and words and dances are part of this ceremonial, non-religious preparation. But what was the traditional Cypriot wedding 50 or 100 years ago, it's something that cannot actually happen now, because everything happened. I mean, we can repeat it. I mean, we can try to reproduce it, but it's a reproduction. It's not something natural. It's not something that comes out from what people are. If you are trying to reproduce a ceremony as it was 100 years ago, you're just doing a sort of play, a theater.
But still, you know, the ceremony is big.
Of course, the ceremony is big. The ceremony is big because there is another characteristic which is present. The wedding is a social financial loan. I mean, you invite, and I'm not exaggerating, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people at your wedding. Invitations, beg your pardon, invitations. That means usually the double of people. So 1,000 invitation, at least until 5 years ago, was standard everywhere. At least 1,000, 2,000 invitations. That means that the amount of money, because at least 95%, even more, of the presents were envelopes of money, envelopes full of money. So the amount was, let's say, considerable. This amount is a beginning of something. I mean, you can use this for buying something, or, I mean, it's a certainty you based on to do something as a new married couple. And you are going to pay, and your parents pay this money back while you will visit other people's weddings, giving them the portion of money you have to, based on what they gave you. So Amalia knows very well the books with the names and the amount of money written down in order to respond in the same way at the marriage of them or of their children. So it's a loan without the bank and without interest. I mean,
so the money is circulated, you know?
The circulation, the close circulation of money within the same society. As a social loan.
So when you go to any other wedding, you open the book, you check how much they gave to you, and you pay the same money to them.
And it is not rare to hear stories like, I will not go to this matrimony, to this wedding, because is the fourth child to get married, and I have only two. So they came twice to my children marriages, but they are four, or they are getting married for the second time, so I will not go. So,
чтобы не переплачивать. Да. Да.
but the last years, things are changing. Things are changing because societies are changing. So yes, I'm in Cyprus. I am back in Cyprus since 2015. And I can feel the change in these last 6 years, that things are about to change. Maybe they are not changed, but are about to change.
It's pandemic, nothing is
maybe it's the pandemic.
Nothing is going to change. Tell me, who keep the parents' house? Who keep the house?
The rule is that the daughter will keep the house.
The older daughter.
Or the one that has necessity to have a house. Actually, the house goes to the last child that stays with the parents.
Who will take care of them?
Yes. But more in the most cases I have knowledge of, the house is divided in the number of children. I mean, they sell it and they divide the money, or they one pay the amount, the right amount to be fair.
To be fair with anybody.
Yes. And this is something the parents want, not the children, the parents, because they want to be fair.
Yeah, the mother, I think so.
Yes.
Mostly the mother.
Mostly the mother, yes.
Да. Задавай вопрос, да.
Other questions?
Ну, тогда всем, наверное, вопросы, да, какие-то? Вот у меня вопросы есть. Я, наверное, первый свой озвучу для всех по-русски и тут же переведу его по итальянски. Да, что, например, вот можно ли ставить, вернее, знак равенства между понятием семьей и кланом? La domanda è che se è possibile, egregio professore, equiparare il concetto del clan e della famiglia, nel caso in Cipro. Perché questo è valido per la Sicilia e questo è valido.
Sì, per la Sicilia è valido, yes. I have to answer in English so they all understand. Yes, for Sicily, this is studied, and I mean, for Sardinia is a bit different.
Isn't so.
It isn't so. The same as the Sardinia case is Crete and Cyprus. There was not the social necessity that creates the clan family in Sicily. So the clan family does not appear in these places because there was not the right historic necessity to do so. So yes, we do not have the clan family. There are some exceptions. Still, but are not. We cannot say that the phenomenon is present if we have 2 or 3 cases based especially on financial interests. It will not be the right term to use. It's like when you talk about mafia in Milan. You cannot talk about mafia in Milan. You can talk about something that is similar to mafia. There are some common mechanisms, etc., but mafia is a very specific thing. And family clan, it's something very specific that does not exist in Cyprus, like in Sardinia, like in Crete. And I'm telling that Sardinia, Crete, and Cyprus, I'm repeating these 3 names because there are common stuff in these 3 islands.
And I think also in Corsica the same.
In Corsica and in Malta.
Мгм.
And in Malta.
Мгм.
Yes.
Если можно, еще у меня тогда один вопрос, и тоже я его по-русски потом воспроизведу. Дело в том, что, отталкиваясь от Сардинии, Амаль, давление семьи на индивида настолько сильное, что в Сардинии, об этом говорят и психиатры, и психологи, и социологи, есть феномен одинокого человека, которого клан фактически задавливает, не клан, семья задавливает. Они вправе придать его остракизму. То есть человек, он ощущает себя фрустрированным. Такого явления, насколько я знаю, все-таки в Сицилии нету. Насколько давление семьи, вот оно абсолютно. И это, кстати, в Сардинии это касается даже выбора брачного партнера. Последнее слово остается за семьей. Сейчас я переведу тогда этот вопрос, да, наверное?
Да.
La domanda è, esiste il fenomeno della solitudine in Sardegna ed è dovuto più in Barbagia che non in zona costiera, dove il peso della famiglia è talmente pressante che praticamente la famiglia ha l'ultima decisione assoluta nel risolvere le soluzioni dell'individuo, il quale può anche essere estratto, cioè rimane in famiglia ma è reso vittima di ostracismo talmente forte che impazzisce. Fino a che punto questo fenomeno c'è nel Cipro? In Cipro.
Yes, this phenomenon does not exist now, at least. There are some families, especially of the innerland, of the mainland. A parenthesis, Cyprus is, as all big islands, more inland than coastal, from plenty of points of view. The internal part, which is full of mountains, used to be more close and more close means more self, there was more a self-reference of the micro societies where family was, where you was part of a single thing that was the family. In these cases, we're talking about the at least the 1950s. There were some phenomena of this kind where family was acting as the decision maker of everything. So mother especially, but also father, grandmother.
Mainly. The absolute.
Where the actual pressure on the decisions of the younger parts of the family, younger members of the family. This, from what I know, does not exist, at least in this scale now. Not because of my generation, but because of the generation of my parents. That is a generation that more than 60% went abroad to study. So they came back with other kind of concepts, like the concept of freedom of decision, and the less less heaviness of the presence of what family could mean in the in the life of the individuals. So yes, from the next generation, from the past generation, the generation of my parents, these things were so in sort of recalibration, and now with very rare exceptions, this is not as you said in Sardinia. I have friends from Sardinia, and I know that the problem is quite important. I mean, it's significant.
Mm-hmm.
But she wants to say something.
Yeah. No, because you mentioned that is the interesting thing that the Cypriots is, you know, the nationality which doesn't matter how far they go, all of them, they come back to Cyprus.
Yes.
This is very interesting. Они как бы далеко не уехали, они все возвращаются назад. Как бы, понимаешь, долго дети не учились, понимаешь, они все возвращаются назад.
It's an insular disease. I call it an insular disease. People from islands, somehow they want to return. I myself returned after 16 years abroad. I returned when I found the right opportunity, working opportunity to come back. I came back, not because I stayed in an ugly place, but
You stay in Venice.
yes, I used to stay in Venice. So I came back in Larnaca.
Because of your mother.
Wasn't exactly for my mother, but okay. Yes, actually, my mother was the one that she doesn't want me to come.
Why so? Sorry, why so?
Why? Because, first of all, because I was happy where I was, and because I had my family there, etc. Because she used to come twice a year, and because she was pretty sure that I wouldn't be so happy here. It's not true. I mean, I find myself
it's
here.
a very unique situation.
It's a unique
situation for Cyprus, yeah.
Yes, I know.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah. This is Sergei Sokolovsky. I apologize that you do not see me because I have a weak connection, internet connection. But I would like to pose a question about divorce in Cyprus.
Divorce?
Yeah. I know several cases when the church was against divorce and when the church was against remarriage after divorce. How I would like you to comment on this situation.
Yeah, as you might.
That's precisely where family and church is judging.
Especially for the divorce, and especially now, the church has a minor influence. Now, I mean, I get divorced.
With the church?
With the church.
How long it took you?
For 4 months, I think. I mean, I haven't done anything. I mean, it was all a lawyer. Just informed the church that.
So you didn't talk to the priest?
No. I received.
But you're married in the
Orthodox Church, yes. I received a letter from the Bishop of Larnaca, and it was quite funny because it was a photocopy of a letter, and it was a bit photocopied plenty of times and sent to my house, quite anonymous, telling that we as church we're against the divorce. We think, we strongly believe that Jesus Christ and the church will help you to solve your problems. So whenever you feel you can come with your wife to talk and try to find another solution. Otherwise, we have no problem to cancel your marriage within a month of time. So it's a procedure. Nowadays is a procedure. I'm talking about cities where, as you can imagine, divorces are
more frequent.
Yes,
Imagine that then you want to
get married.
have another marriage in church.
Yes.
What would be the church position?
So, for historical reasons, the Orthodox Church, the Greek Orthodox Church, accepts 3 marriages in the church. Not more than 3, at the contrary of the Catholic Church. So they cannot deny a marriage if it's the second or the third. I mean, you have the right to do it, and the church has to accept it in a way. I mean, you don't. I get married with a Catholic, and it was quite interesting because in order to prepare all the cards to get married in the Orthodox Church of Cyprus with an Italian Catholic, there was a very interesting meet. Interesting because the priest was an interesting personality. The priest that was responsible of the office of the minorities and the dogmas. So we talk about our way of thinking the religion and the spiritual life, etc., etc. And at the end, my future then wife signed a paper that our children were going to be baptized as Orthodox and not as Catholics. So everything was solved in this way, which is acceptable. I mean, then you can decide what to do with if you want to baptize, Christianize.
As far as I know, you have a note, Cypriot Catholics, you call them Latinos.
Yes.
Is your wife from this group? No? Your wife is from...
No. She came from Italy.
I see. Thank you so much.
She's not of this minority, which is an interesting minority. And now I am preparing a book now for the Latin community of Cyprus, and we are preparing also 10 short films about the stories of Latin members of the Latin community of Larnaca. Yes, it's a community I know very well and I feel very close to.
And how many churches are there of Latin community? How many churches?
How many
churches in that community? How many churches there?
How many churches? I mean, you mean physical buildings?
Latin, yeah, physical.
Yes. In Larnaca, there were 4. Now there is just one big church, really big church. In Nicosia, there are 2, in Limassol 1. I mean, 4, 5, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the churches now. I think are 4 or 5. But there is something important about the Latin community of Cyprus, which is part of the society of Cyprus, therefore the families of Cyprus. The Latins of Cyprus were a minority, recognized by the government. They have their representative in the parliament, and so on. And these are the members of the community. They can vote for their representative in the parliament. But now, in the Catholic churches, there are plenty of faithful people that are not part of the community, especially ladies that are working in the families as family assistants from the East. So we have Filipinos, etc., that are Catholics, and there are thousands of them that are living in Cyprus in Cypriot families, but they are Catholic, so they visit each and every Sunday the church. But they cannot be part of the Latin community because in the Constitution of Cyprus, to be part of this community, you have to be born before 1960 in this community, be related by blood to to the members of the Latin community in 1960, I mean, when the Constitution was made. But it's something that they want to change, and they are right. I mean, they have to change.
Thank you.
Mr. Sokolovsky, I hope
I'm quite satisfied. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Indeed, Professor, may I ask a question?
Of course.
Thank you for your presentation, and I want to know something about the role of grandfathers, because you say that on the top of the family is usually a grandmother, and when she dies, but for instance, grandfather is still alive, what is the situation then in the family?
Yes. So the grandfather is the official chief of the family. He is officially of course, he is the name holder of the family. So he is the king. And when the glue of the family, the grandmother, gone, the king, this chief, this important figure, important for some aspects, figure, especially symbolic aspects, not practical, but symbolic aspects, is has to be replaced in a way. There are widows living alone, no grandfathers alone, as far as I know. They, most of the times, are with their daughters, most of the times, or in specific structures in a city or somewhere. But if they cannot be in a house with a lady, these ladies I was talking about, the Filipinos, etc., are replacing for some aspects the missing grandmother. Not, of course, in the decision making, as is natural, but sometimes, quite often, these ladies are engaged, that is paid, to fill up the gap of the woman of the house. So the grandfather can stay at his house if there is another lady assisting him, even if he's okay with his health, or otherwise he's with a daughter or in a structure. It's very interesting. This question is quite interesting because it opens another window of what is the reality of a Cypriot family. So we have the actual function of a figure, which is the grandmother most of the times, and a symbolic part, a symbolic figure, which is the grandfather.
I mean, the daughter, she cannot replace the grandma.
No, yes, the eldest daughter, sometimes, yes, and not rarely.
For the decision, I mean.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Also in Italy, I know plenty of cases where the eldest daughter replaces the grandmother, also in the decisions, also in the unity of the family, and also the taking care of the father, the grandfather.
Not the wife of the eldest son.
Not the wife of the eldest son. The wife of the eldest son is part of the family, but is not, I mean, is part of the family, but is not family. Is not family. Is part of the family.
Yeah.
I am joking with my cousins' wives. My cousins' wives and my, yes, that they are part of the family, but they do not we do not have the same genes, so they are going to be always guests in the family, even if they are part of the family, and they are head of their nuclear family. Therefore, within the larger family of my cousins, and I have the fortune to have this big family of cousins from my father's side, we were together on Zoom today, because from the pandemic we have restrictions and we cannot be together a number that is, I think, six or eight or something. So wasn't possible to be all together. So I was with my brothers at my mother's house, but we were connected with Zoom with the rest of family. So I hope I answered. Are there other questions for the father, for the grandfather?
Thank you.
The gun, for example, is important. The gun, the shooting gun, for hunting, it's something that symbolically passes from grandfather, not to the son, but to the grandson, and especially the one that has the grandfather's name.
No, we didn't mention that, by the way.
So we have this repetition, unknowing repetition of the names in the family. So you have the certain surname, family name, and then you add the same names in a circulation of repetitions. So I have my grandfather's name, and because I am his son, I have also his surname. So even if I have cousins, male cousins with their grandfather's name, so our grandfather's name, are older than me, but they do not have the same surname. So I took my grandfather's gun and the watch also. So the watch is something else, but the gun is
obligatory.
Yes, it's mandatory. I mean, if there is a gun, goes to the grandson of the same name.
And the name?
And also the jewelries of the grandmother.
To you?
No, the jewelries of the grandmother. I mean, officially, the official jewelries, I mean, the rings, something important, the pearl or something, are going to the granddaughter with the same name.
With the grandma?
With the grandma, yes.
Granddaughter.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
It's not always the case.
Maybe that's the reason why they gave this name to the granddaughter.
Of course.
Just to keep the...
Not only, but yes. So I have my father's father name, and my son has my father's name. It was mandatory. It wasn't mandatory. Actually, our father told us that he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. No, he does. But he said that we can choose whatever we want.
Feel free.
Feel free. But yes, my ex-wife was sensitive enough to understand that this feel free of my father wasn't very free. So we gave our son, my father's name. And also, listen to this, which is important, also my godfather's name, because my godfather has no children. Yes, because the figure of the godfather is still important in Cypriot society. The spiritual father, the godfather. Is the godfather not the Sicilian one?
No.
But the other one, yes. The godfather is an important figure, yes. Replacing the father in some cases. Yes, it's an important figure. Therefore, I gave to my son, we gave to our son my father's and godfather's name.
Yosif doesn't seem to be a frequent name in Cyprus, is it?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Yosif is not a frequent name in Cyprus, is it?
No, it's not a frequent name in Cyprus. My family, my grandfather's family from my father's side used to be a family of Maronites.
That's why. Yeah.
But from the late 19th century, they became Orthodox. A part of the family became Orthodox. Another part of the family became Protestant. So yes, my great-grandfather used to give symbolic Christian names to the children. So my grandfather was the last son, was the last children, was the last son, therefore was the right opportunity to give him the name of Joseph, which is traditionally the name of the last.
Not only that, say something, you know, we have Haджикирьякос.
Yes, I am. Haji everything.
Haji everything, yeah.
Haji is a title and means actually pilgrim. Is an Ottoman, therefore Muslim title. Haji is the name of people that are visiting Mecca.
Hajj.
Да.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
поэтому эта приставка хаджи во многих фамилиях есть.
in Cyprus, but also in Greece, during the Ottoman period, people that were able to go and baptize themselves in Jordan, in the river Jordan, in Israel, used to take the title as part of the surname. At a certain point, around the 18th century, 1700, it was also a social title because people able to spend time and money to go there, etc., were wealthy people, etc. So Haji is actually the only title that is present in our societies, societies without kings. I mean, we have no other titles. We have some honorary titles from the British Empire, but are honorary titles. I mean, for merits. Lady of Honor of the Queen or of the King, and Sir, etc., for merit during the British period, and that's all. Yes, but you're right, my name is not very common. That is why in Cyprus I am known with my name and not with my surname, because Haджикирьякos is quite common, Yosif not. I was always more Yosif than Haджикирьякos. And this is part of someone's identity. Or this is part of someone's identity.
Sure.
Other questions?
During Christmas, when I know that Cypriot people are scattered across the globe, some live in Australia, in the United States, in Greece, and during Christmas, do you Zoom or how do you meet? How you unite the family? If somebody lives in Melbourne, in Australia, and you stay in Larnaca, how you meet?
Yeah, most of them are, yes, most of them are coming.
Even for when somebody would be dying, you know,
yes,
they're waiting for them to come.
Yes, some of them are traveling quite often, and yes, they are coming. But if we are talking about the immigrants that are there for generations now, only in the United Kingdom we have 4 times the inhabitants of Cyprus living in England. And this is quite understandable. Yes, they are not all coming, and especially the older generations, the previous generations, not used to technological way of communicating. If they are not here for the feasts of Christmas or Easter, they are not here, that's all. People that have children studying abroad, etc., if they cannot be here, they communicate through Skype or all these situations we manage, especially now with pandemic. But yes.
But they do travel. They come for
but
wedding.
They
come for wedding.
They are coming for wedding,
yeah.
for funerals,
yeah.
for important...
the people that are waiting for them to come from Australia,
yes.
to come to Cyprus, and they...
Yes,
mm-hmm.
They are waiting.
And they postpone
the funerals for the flights from Australia. Yes, but yes, this is so. I mean, I don't know if in Sardinia you have the same thing with the members abroad.
Yeah, the same. And to my regret, we have a sad experience, for example, with my father who died in Sicily, and with my daughter. All the family was waiting for us because for me, I am the only daughter. That's why practically my mother was still alive, but she was sick. And without the permission of my mother and mine, it was impossible to organize the funerals of my father.
Yes.
That's why all the family was waiting for us.
Yes.
And no, it's a comprehensible experience. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Like the illegal exportation of food in the luggages. I mean, it's something that must be studied somehow. I mean, kilos of everything in the suitcases. Like there are no supermarkets abroad, but yes. And I prepare this and I prepare that, and you have to take this and you have to take that. When I used to be in Italy, during the end of summer, I used to pass from the relatives to say bye, and it was a hell. Sweets, pasta. They used to give me pasta. Can you understand? I was in Italy, and they used to give me pasta to take with me.
And each is offended, and each, if you refuse.
No, you cannot refuse.
You cannot refuse.
I used to give to my mother everything. Of course, she didn't say nothing to the relatives, but yes, I took only spices with me because the aromas and all the flavors of the islands are different in comparison with North Italy. But yes, that's all. For sentimental reasons, maybe. The oregano and rosemary from Cyprus.
These small birds?
No, I don't like it.
No,
I don't need
meat. Thanks, good. Yeah.
If it's possible, another question probably. So if you're tired, but I'll try to express. So I know that Cyprus, like Italy recently, pressed by Europe, had to recognize the unisexual units. So the Italian society not so much lived it in a worse way, exactly not because it was this decision, but it was a result of a pressure. So how the Cyprus church see this situation? How the church lived it? The necessity to recognize.
Yeah, of course, they are against. Fortunately, the civil part approved it, but the religious part doing their job if we can talk about job in the religious part, doing their job, they are against, because it's not written in the Bible. So, yes.
But we accept.
Yes, of course. In the parliament, I mean, there is a law.
But in Cyprus were recognized units or marriages, because
Units.
Units. And Italy has the excuse to recognize only units.
And I think, I'm not sure, I'm not informed well on the subject, but I think if you are married abroad, is recognized. I think is recognized if you are married abroad as
So here we cannot marry.
But they cannot marry here again. No, I think they cannot.
In Italy, these marriages are not recognized by the church, and it was an
Not by the church, of course, not by the church. I'm talking about civil. Marriage now, talking about civil.
I don't know in Italy. For Italy, I don't know. They recognize units also. And the fact that Papa Francisco has pronounced it openly provocate in Italy, it hasn't provoked so much, even among church people, it was not so scandalous. Strangely, it had provoked against the Papa, for example, in Poland.
Yes, I know in Poland there were plenty of problems, yes.
Yeah, with it, and they reacted about his on his words, on Francisco's words.
Yes,
but I repeat, strangely, in Italy, the result, the Italians felt themselves offended that this decision was practically, they were obliged to take this decision with the pressure of, with the payment of the penal fees, and it was an obligation.
Yes, it was mandatory to do it, because also, we're talking about the European community, etc., etc. Italy is not anymore the Italy we used to know years ago. It's not popes. It's not what was once like the Pope's country. Which is a natural evolution of the things. But I think there is a question from Bulgaria. Mrs. Koleva asked about the mixed Cypriot families and if they are tolerant of marriages, etc. Yes, we have to distinguish some actual things. I mean, there are mixed marriages, and we talk about mixed marriages and the way they are accepted in the local society. There are also a series of marriages that are not real marriages, but are marriages to give the opportunity to someone to take the European citizenship. Or is a way to keep someone in Cyprus when the permissions are expired or something. So some people, especially people from the Balkans working in Cyprus, are involved. I'm not talking about the majority of the people, and I'm not talking about, it's not a critical approach on people, but the civil part recognize plenty of problems, and now there are regulations of the law about this because of these marriages that were for marriage, for the citizenship. But for the rest, I don't think that there are problems.
No.
There is, I would not use the word tolerance. Tolerance actually means that you don't like something, but you accept it in a way. You tolerate it. From this point of view, I want to say that probably Cyprus is a very stoic society. Stoic in the sense of stoicism. They accept things as they are not like Sicily, are not like Crete from this point of view. They do not react. There are no revolutions in Cyprus, for example. Historically, we have 2 or 3, nothing. It's not like Crete.
Cyprus is like Babylon. I'm telling you.
Yes, it's like Babylon.
Babylon, no,
Yes, it's like Babylon. And so everything is accepted, quite accepted. I mean, we had the crisis of 2013, where rich people became poor in a night, and there was no reaction. Are stoic, which is good and sometimes less good, but it's stoic. We have to remember that the philosopher Zeno was from Larnaca. I mean, and not for this reason, but maybe for this reason, Zeno was what was.
There was one case where you were not so much stoic. I mean, Enosis and Macarius.
Yes,
it was not. Yeah,
Macarius, yes, was more stoic than the part of Enosis. Enosis was actually the main issue based on which the political problems were born. The political problems I was talking about before. I mean, the Turkish invasion is linked with this.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We have to thank you.
We have to thank you.
And in this case,
My Bulgarian, it was very interesting for me.
It was you are very kind. You are very kind hosts, and we are very happy guests.
I love Greek people, so Cypriots too. Thank you.
Ляль, мы просим прощения, что мы в первый день поста, в праздник.
Да, сегодня выходной.
Скажи, что мы извиняемся все.
Благодарим за то, что вот сегодня состоялась такая интересная беседа, и надеемся, что это не последняя наша встреча. Да.
Have you this feast in Russia?
We have, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
But we don't.
Is it an official?
No. First day, no.
The first day, no.
It's a working day. Сегодня же рабочий день.
Ragazzi, ma abbiamo iniziato la Quaresima pure noi, pure qua.
Pure là.
E pure là. La ringraziamo, è stato un piacere e un onore per noi e ci scusi che l'abbiamo fatto in un giorno festivo.
Ma no. Avrei sempre potuto rifiutare. È un piacere.
Ed è vero. E siamo fortunati che lei non l'ha fatto, che ha accettato.
Spero sia stato abbastanza comprensibile ciò che è stato detto, soprattutto spero di non essere stato interpretativo, ma solo descrittivo. Ecco, questo potrebbe tradurlo.
Профессор говорит, что он очень надеется, что он не был интерпретатором, но что он повествовал, и он предоставил некоторую информацию, не беря на себя миссию интерпретировать.
Да, потому что у нас не было возможностей, как бы цели не было. Мы не изучали, у нас не было никаких...
Нет, и не надо. Это живой материал. Я думаю, что от имени всех я скажу, что это был живой материал, да.
Абсолютно живой материал, просто на самом деле для меня он уникален, потому что я наблюдаю кипрскую семью и не перестаю удивляться, хотя здесь 22 года нахожусь.
Да, уже...
Да, вот это, как бы для себя я вот придумала этот институт подружек, институт семьи. Конечно, когда кто-то выходит замуж за киприота, они должны понимать, что, конечно, они входят в семью, и выхода оттуда нет. То есть тебя окружают кузины, братья, это сотни людей, и ты вот так вот по кругу перемещаешься.
Мария Ивановна, я вам хочу предложить в качестве альтернативной деятельности некое консультативное брачное агентство по подготовке русских девушек к браку, как антрополог, подготовка, да, к браку к киприотам, потому что
то есть так много девушек, которые выходят замуж?
У нас, послушай, вчера буквально из Тамбовского университета мне позвонила руководительница программы нашей, я вот как раз только что Йосифу рассказывала, и что она сказала? У нас были студентки, которые, как только прилетели на Кипр, просили вот его найти этот гранат, символ, да, неважно в чем, в серебре, там, что-то, да, они хотели купить вот этот гранат, украшение, девочки. И вот они все по магазинам приценялись, а я никак поняла, что гранаты, да, и все были вовлечены, в том числе и он. Вот, в общем, гранаты были куплены, а задача была замуж выйти. И вот мне вчера позвонила вот эта Ольга и говорит: Амали, вы не поверите, ваши гранаты работают. А я забыла, потому что эта история уже год. Ну, потому что, да, вот эта пандемия, я говорю, что значит работает? Она говорит: так наша Оленька замуж вышла и родила. Я сказала, да, она купила этот помегранат, этот гранат она купила, да, прилетела, вот она вышла замуж, так их две. Сегодня еще одна. Так что вот...
Они на Кипре вышли?
На Кипре вышли замуж.
Да, гранат символ.
Работала, гранат выстрелил.
Гранаты работают. Вот.
Так если они жили все это время в Тамбове, как они...
Да, они замуж.
Они успели до того, Марина, а потом они прилетели уже жениться.
Видимо... Нет, они вышли замуж, они прилетели после экспедиции, они вышли замуж в России, в Тамбове. Нашли пару и вышли замуж, да.
Но не за киприота.
Нет.
At the end of the day, we are the island of Aphrodite. So sort of things are, yes, very, very common in the island. Since then.
Спасибо. Спасибо, grazie.
Grazie a voi.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.
Παρακαλούμε. You see the Babylon? Good afternoon to you, and we both hope we can see you there or here soon. Or why not in Italy?
Yes.
Maybe in Moscow, yes. And next time I will be in Moscow with pleasure, yes.
Нет, мы с удовольствием вас приглашаем. Я хочу сказать, может быть, даже в группе или самостоятельно приедете, а может быть, с Московского университета. Maybe together with the Moscow University. Да, когда студенты поедут, мы вас рады будем тоже встретить, принять, пригласить.
Амаль, и Сардиния, и Сицилия тогда. Я щедро расплачиваю там и там. Сардиния и Сицилия.
Да. Мы думаем, на самом деле, Оксана, поверь, мы думаем о том, чтобы нам делать вот два конца, чтобы нам и Кипр, и Италия заниматься, да.
Ну, островная Италия, да, есть к кому обращаться, и действительно точки есть, и антропологические, и точки исследования, да, они есть, дружественные.
Хорошо, все.
Ну вот. No, che ci sono posti, ci sono centri in Sicilia e in Sardegna, nella Barbagia della Sardegna, in Sicilia, dove centri di ricerca dove queste tematiche sono molto accolte, molto viste, molto ben viste, perciò benvenuti pure là, siete attesi, pure in Italia.
Esatto, è lo stesso,
Grazie.
Okay.
Спасибо. Всего доброго, да.
Всего доброго. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Γεια σας.
Γεια σας.
Bye-bye.